Thank you all so much for your patience. A very warm welcome to all our four panelists and our attendees. Mass Foundation hopes that you and your loved ones are keeping safe and healthy during these extraordinary times. We pray that you are safe and secure. I am Ayantika, the Communications Lead at Mass Foundation, and your host and moderator for today's webinar on India's landscape for EV charging infrastructure, innovative business models, and funding challenges. So today's key learning points are state of affair of the EV charging infrastructure, the challenges, innovative business models, and government support. Now, let's dive into the context and set the agenda for the meeting. First up, my co-moderator, Parvez, the team lead of policy group at Mass Foundation, who is an engineer and a public policy professional in clean energy, will introduce Mass Foundation. Then we shall move on to the most awaited part, the panel discussion. Moving on, we will have a Q&A round for 10 minutes. Every attendee having a question can write it down in the Q&A box, and we shall take it up during this round. And finally, like everything comes to an end, with a vote of thanks, we shall conclude the webinar. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Parvez. The floor is all yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Ayantika, for setting the tone for the webinar. So I'll introduce you for a bit about what is our mission. So MAS stands for Mobility Alliance and Social Sustainability. And yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So our mission is to enable sustainable mobility ecosystem. This is our mission. And so we are not for-profit organization. We promote clean mobility, and we tend to provide a platform to Indian ecosystem to develop capabilities in this field of sustainable mobility. And we also offer mentorship on funding, operational intensive support, EV tech and skill development, and market access to the organization, including startups working in the EV domain. And we are stakeholder inclusive. So we also provide business or market research. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Parvez. We will now move on to the panel discussion. First up, we have Mr. Gaurav Trivedi, who is the Chief Business Officer of EEE Taxi. He has vast and diverse experience in the logistic domain in India and Africa. Mr. Gaurav Trivedi, prior to joining EEE Taxi, has worked with other e-mobility companies in the similar space. He's a law graduate and has done an executive management program from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Mr. Gaurav started his career with the Indian Army as a short service commissioned officer. Over to you, Mr. Gaurav. The floor is all yours now.
Thanks, Ayantika, for a very warm introduction of mine. Good evening, everyone. I wish all of you that you and your loved ones are safe, especially in these testing times. Without taking much time, I would now share my screen. Yeah, I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, yeah. So, EEE Taxi, electric, eco-friendly, and economical mobility. So, we at EEE Taxi are making EV adoption simple, scalable, and sustainable. EEE is an end-to-end e-mobility solutions provider company which helps businesses reduce their employee logistic cost, travel time, and scope 3 carbon emissions by providing EVs, journey management technology, and charging infra. What does EEE mean? It is electric, economical, and environmental friendly. So by electric, we bring 100% electric cars. These are very connected cars. They work on an app. It's an appified solution. These are intelligent, and there is a very high security and safety. Economical, no fuel price inflation. There's a very low running cost of these cars, and you get better value for money. Zero emission, regenerative braking leads to a lot of environmental benefits. These cars are till date have been excused from the traffic rationing schemes. And by running these cars, you also save scope 3 emissions. To highlight it over here, Triple Taxi was the first to introduce a sedan EV, not only in Delhi NCR, but in Pan-India in the commercial segment. And this I say on record as per the data with the Ministry of Road Transport. So what problem is Triple solving? Traditionally it has been seen that the taxi operators in the market, what the solutions that they offer you are fraught with certain problems. I have illustrated them over here. These are high logistic costs with frequent fuel escalation, high vehicular pollution and carbon emissions, rapid urbanization leading to high employee travel time. And this point particularly also leads to a lot of stress, the higher travel commute in the large city. Apart from this, there are safety procedures and compliance issues, opaque billing that these vendors have, and manual coordination and reconciliation of trips is in itself the problem. So what solution do we bring? The average cost saving that we pass on to our clients is anywhere between 5 to 30%. Being EVs, these are 100% EVs, so zero scope 3 emissions and zero capex. Let me tell you, if any corporate wants to, most of these MNCs in today's time, they have their sustainability goals and they want to reduce their scope 2, scope 3 emissions. If you were to do any project for a scope 2 or a scope 3 emission, one needs to set up rooftop solar or a waste management. These are some of the examples I'm giving, and these come with very high capex. Mostly where the MNCs tend to set up. Just by adopting the EVs given by us, without any capex done, you start saving 100% of your scope 3 emissions. On the routing part, if you see, our solution has an algorithm driven routing. Average travel time saving that we offer is anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. With per employee level, it brings down to about 20 minutes saved. Now 20 minutes either side, if it saves, it's a huge saving. 40 minutes of your quality of life gets better, if I may say. On the compliance and safety, these are 100% compliant. Transparent billing is what we offer. Automated reconciliation and trip level. What happens over here in our solution is that we do not make any signing before and after the trip is over. In most of the traditional system, the taxi guy, the driver at the end of trip would say, sign on this, and I would fill the closing kilometers at my garage. In our system, the moment you board the cab, there's an OTP which captures the timestamp and the geocode. Similarly, when you release the cab, the timestamp and the geocode are captured. Between these two timestamps and geocodes, your billing is done instantaneously moment the deboarding OTP is put in the system, and instant invoicing with relevant stakeholders is shared there and then. An automated trip management with live location gives you a peace of mind. More so the solution is very, very safe for late night employees and for our women employees also. So, if you see the system that I just now told, the solution side, it's thoroughly backed by a tech solution. So on the left-hand side, you see some of the inefficiencies in the non-manual existing large market which exists, manual coordination with ETS providers. In our offered solution, Triple Taxi, it's a self-rostering solution that we offered. Use of inefficient routes. Here, the routing is all done by algorithm driven, given we follow a set of rules, traffic pattern, and also how much travel that a corporate wants, that my employee should not travel more than 90 minutes, some say more than 60 minutes. So we take care of those things. Safety of employees and lack of real-time visibility. So in this, there are so many dashboards, and the visibility is at all levels, right from the employee to his managers to operations, and even vehicular level tracking can be done. Manual reconciliation of trip, it is all thoroughly automated. Billing department-wise, cost can be worked out. Driver documents, these are run through the system. So if any of the car document is not valid or a driver document is not valid, the car cannot just leave the hub for duty. It will be blocked before even the start of the duty. So ours is a hybrid business model. The company has been operating for 5 years plus now. We started as a B2B player, and we are also doing the demand fulfillment for demand aggregators like Uber, MMT, and others. Presently, company is operating in Delhi NCR, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, and soon we'll be expanding to other cities in due course of time. What benefits do we bring? So, by adopting these EVs which we bring, there are benefits which are passed on at each level in a corporate value chain. If you see at the level of employee, these are very convenient, safe, noiseless cars. At an HR level, these have a larger HR benefit, health and safety benefit, and overall quality of life is managed. Operationally, these are very reliable, seamless, drivers are trained, and operations are thoroughly automated. Legal, these are compliant cars, drivers, and given that it's backed by a tech solution, most of the things are instantaneous. For the finance guy in the organization, this is a very cost optimized solution. So you would have been seeing that in last couple of years, fuel price, especially the petrol and diesel prices, have been rising month on month, and with the dynamic pricing, people are tracking it every day. But when we sign up with any corporate, we offer escalation free 3-year contract to our clients. Whatever be the change in the electricity rates, we absorb that irrespective of whether the rate is going up or down. So what are the value drivers that we makes EEE stand in the market? We come with a very experienced management team which runs the whole show. It's a build to suit model. We do not say that you have to hop on to my offering, and we are one company. We curate a solution for our clients after understanding their needs. We leverage a lot of captive and public charging networks. So as I said, we are operating in Delhi NCR, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. We have 7 hubs. We have about 121 AC chargers and 21 DC chargers, and we are expanding. So these are very safe. Safety is in the DNA of EEE taxi, and it's an integrated technology that is there, which connects both the EVs, the charging bit, and the journey management technology. So what kind of market are we operating in, if I may say? And this also brings us to the larger EV market, how it looks like. So for the ETS market, if I may say, the market is at 18 lakh plus of employees commuting every day. It's about in excess of 1.2 million cars. And if you see the size of the market, it's 20 billion plus of industry that looks like. So we have a very collaborative approach how we work. We have network partners like WBCSD, WRI, Climate Group, and others. And some of our esteemed clients like EY, Uber, Exicom, ITC, and others. So that's how we have some of the client base, with whom we operate. So our management team, Nishant is the founder and MD of company. He, along with Vipul and Shivkant, are the directors. Mr. Amit Garg is the board advisor. I and the team, Arun Bhandari, Sunny, and others. So it's a strong management team which manages the whole EEE show. So what kind of impact we have caused in the ever since our operations have gone live? So it's it's 4,000 plus tons of CO2 emission which has been abated till date. If I may say, these numbers were updated some time back, and given this lockdown we have not updated. Otherwise this number is now crossing 5,000 plus tons of CO2, 15 million plus kilometers of distance, 2.1 million kilowatt hours of units of electricity has been consumed, 12 lakh plus liters of diesel has been saved, and about 80,000 plus trees have been planted. And all these numbers, as I speak, the count is increasing every moment that I'm talking. So that is the environmental impact that EEE has caused. Our use case was published in COP25 from Madrid, wherein our hybrid business model, how we rotate the same car between a corporate and a B2C, which is Uber ride hailing, was published in 2018 from Madrid, COP25 it was published. overall impact that our operations have caused. These are at the level of social impact, where job creation, gender diversity. We have a fleet of women drivers who operate, and they're very proud that they operate EVs. Economic impact is at the larger economic, wherein we save the reduced crude oil import. By adopting these EVs, the overall impact is on higher life expectancy, physical, emotional health becomes better. And we have also been participating in various policy advocacy groups with the government on state EV policies, and committed to national mission on electric mobility 2030. So with this, I bring my introduction of EEE to end over here. And should there be any questions, I'll be glad to take them on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trivedi, for a nice presentation, especially highlighting the innovative business models that we need or that are emerging in nature in the EV segment. And now we move to our next panelist, Mr. Gaurav Trivedi. So currently he is working as product manager in Delta Electronics. He is an experienced professional associated with renewable energy, telecom, e-mobility, and EV charging industries. He holds Master of Technology in Electronics and Renewables. He has also done energy coursework from IIT Delhi, and he has expertise in product engineering, design, and development. He's passionate about e-mobility and automotive. He is associated with, or he has been associated in past also with government think tanks and research organizations. Yeah, over to you, Mr. Shashank. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Am I visible too? Right? So yeah, thank you so much, Pravez, for this warm welcome, and thank you so much, Antika, for coordinating and organizing this session with the Mass Foundation. So starting with, so as a remark, so this e-mobility infra deployment is going on in India, and currently many of us are part of this revolution, including Mr. Gaurav Trivedi, who's doing the just a wonderful by providing the taxi services and just hello. Yes. So providing this EV taxi services and just saving the environment and saving the fossil fuel. So that is there. So we can start with a general discussion. I'm here to discuss about e-mobility thing. But for discussion, I can give you some sort of introduction about EV. Being a OEM of EV chargers at Delta, we have we are developing the indigenous technology of EV chargers from a wide range of AC versus DC. So at AC charger, so I'll give you, I guess I'm not audible, right? Someone has messaged.
So if you can just
Okay.
take the
So
microphone
is it
a
fine
little
now?
closer to your
Hello.
mouth.
Okay, it is right. So I guess Abhi, is it good now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this I was charger. So as in Delta, we manufacture both the chargers from the range of minimum at AC side is 3.3 kilowatt, at DC side this charging infra up to 350 kilowatt right now. So we are extending the energy even per the demand of the OEMs and everyone. So we have developed projects with the bus OEMs, with the even with the triple E taxi, even with a couple of other taxi service providers. And then with the government side, we have deployed many charging stations for Indian government with the power PSUs, that is ESL and NTPC and other PSUs as well. So this is the background that currently Delta is having in the market. And going forward with the technical things, so that EV as an EV, we can charge the EV by AC versus DC charging. So where in AC is limited to right now 7.4 kilowatt power, because this AC vehicle, the electric vehicles has a onboard charger of 7 kilowatt only, so they accept the 7.4 kilowatt from the outside, right? So it is the maximum power limitations as of now. Going forward, it may be double up to even 20. So it is happening, right? And at a DC side, there is no of the energy transfer within the vehicle. So it could be from starting from 50 watt, at least with the Bharat charger. So and can be up to 350 in case of CCS. So but the batteries are limited right now in the vehicle side. So batteries are up to only 44 kWh maximum, which is available in MG, right? With other cars like Hyundai Kona and uh, Tata Nexon EV, so they have the lesser size battery. So this is the difference. And so with the DC charging, we just convert the energy into DC off board. So when I'm saying off board, so it is converting outside the electric vehicle. So that machine itself can convert that energy through the modules, which is equipped with some sort of technology, power electronics technology. So Delta as a core, so we have that power converter technology. We basically, as a core, we manufacture those modules. Then further, we are building those applications over that. So we have that power electronics background. So those modules to 30 kilowatt modules we are manufacturing right now, which are in combination are being used in the chargers to convert that AC power to DC power. Going forward, so we have other different connectors or the guns which used to work with the electric vehicles. So we have three basic connectors. You must be aware, right? So it is CCS, GBT, and CHEDIMO. So CCS is the connector which works on PLC communication and is originated from Europe. As a standard, it is IEC 62196. So we have different configuration under this standard. So this configuration which refers to CCS. Then we have GBT and CHEDIMO configuration. So both the configuration have CAN communication based connectivity. So this GBT origination is from China, and this GBT we are using from we adopt this protocol as a Bharat protocol in India for low voltage, particularly up to 15 kilowatt. And at CHEDIMO side, we don't have the vehicle as of now because CHEDIMO is obsolete in India market because it's obligations and its origination from Japan. So this is the three basic standard connectors which we use and for DC charging particularly. So here CCS is very popular in India market because many of the vehicles, even the bus OEMs, are working towards adoption of CCS. Then second popular connector is GBT. So in which few OEMs has few segments like Tata has its Tigor and the Mahindra has its Iverito. So these vehicles generally have this kind of connector compatibility. So that's about the technical stuff of EV charging. Then going forward, there are other solutions like battery swapping stations in which we generally swap the battery. So at Delta, we manufacture that battery swapping charger. One can swap one can swap those battery with that charger, and then can use this this as a business case for this. So so this EV charging infra service provider, we have few business cases. One is the energy operator, another is the charge point operator. So at the energy operator side, this is generally popular among swapping service providers. So they generally have the batteries and they generally perform those battery swapping activities through the SaaS-based platform. So this is their business model in which they earn some swapping charges by charging their battery and vehicle. Second business case is a CPO, charge point operator, where one individual or a startup or any entity can install the chargers among the public as a public charging station. If a user is coming, then the CPO, that is charge point operator provides that charging services to that end user. So in that amount, they generally have the few components, cost components, where one cost component is the electricity cost, certainly. Then second cost component is its charging services. Third, the rental he is paying to the public place. So these three components all together can ultimately be a charging cost. Per it is generally measured in per kWh, but few operators like Photom are measuring it in per hour basis as well. The business case and business model is varying from side to side. So that's of the business case of EV charging operator business. And then this there could be other business cases which are also popular. This base business cases could be like if bus OEM, let's say they want to set up a bus charging station, so they can ask or they can release some RFQ for any where he can just take care of the capex part and install all the charging machines for them. In revert, the OEMs provides a assured business. It could be monthly, it could be assured business to that charging point operator, and accordingly the earn the money, right? So these are the three businesses popularly going on among EV charging infra ecosystem. So now we can take few questions if it is having. So I just completed my introduction part of EV charging infra.
So we'll be taking on the question in
Or
the
we
Q&A
can
round.
have it. Okay, perfect, right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Shashank, for sharing your knowledge and sharing about the various business models. Now we will move on to our next panelist, who is Mr. Rahul Gupta. He has over 10 years of experience in strategy, consulting, sales, and operations. He has a diverse experience of previously working with e-mobility startup, along with experience of working with big corporations such as EY, Tata Power, Vendetta, and CRISIL. In addition to his experience in EV charging infrastructure, he has also a very good understanding of issues related or understanding of related areas such as power generation, renewable energy, climate change, and sustainability. Over to you, Mr. Rahul, sir. The floor is all yours now. Sir, you're on mute.
Sorry. So thank you, Ayantika. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Mars Foundation, for giving this opportunity to Magenta on a very important topic about EV charging infrastructure in India. So let me just share my screen. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, I will be keeping it straight with respect to agendas, that we want to cover. But before that, just a brief introduction to Magenta, what Magenta is all about, what they're doing in the market. As a company, we have four verticals. We are into solar, where we are deploying rooftop solar and other types of solar power plants. We are also completely end-to-end with respect to the EV charging solutions. When I say end-to-end, we are also making EV chargers, high quality EV chargers as per the requirement of the customers. We are deploying those charging solutions. We have a separate software team looking exclusively into the requirement of the customer from a software angle. And then we have a vertical which is into the electric mobility, deploying of the electric four-wheelers and also three-wheelers and other categories of the vehicles. Now, this is a brief introduction to Magenta, but just to tell you briefly about what we are doing as a CPO. As we speak, we are the largest charge point operator in India as of now. We have a complete plan to deploy charging stations all over India, different regions of India, to bring that EV charging infrastructure uh, to different customer segments. Now, going back to the topic that we wanted to discuss, what are the key challenges to set up EV charging infrastructure? There are various challenges, in fact. First one of them is basically the low utilization of the chargers. This we all know that right now the number of cars are not ample enough or adequate enough to have that sustainable EV charging station business model. And because of that, we also have a very little financing option, because anybody, if you ask bank, financial institution, they will ask for the revenue side of it, how you're going to create revenue, and because of which very little financing options are available in the market for EV charging infrastructure players. Now, third problem is basically the multiple standards in EV charging market. Now, how does this impact? Basically, if you want to set up a charging station which can charge all types of vehicles, all segments of vehicles, then you have to deploy number of chargers, and because of which your cost increases. So that's how it's creating a challenge. Now, the fourth challenge is basically the high cost of the chargers and low quality. While the cost of chargers is going to come down over a period of time, but low quality is something that we have to deal with, and we have to come up with a efficient and high quality solution so that we can sustain it over a period of time. And especially because also EV charging business is a long term business. You are looking beyond 5 years, 10 years kind of domain, 20 years kind of domain, because of which you need high quality chargers. Electricity load availability is another issue, because anywhere you want to set up it, you have to have an electricity load available, adequate electricity load available. Long-term lease of land. While the lease of land lease is available, but typically for 11 months or 1 year or maximum up to 3 years kind of period. But since EV charging business requires a long-term lease, that's still a kind of a challenge in the market. Now, what are the key business models framework for CPOs to sustain and grow in Indian market? And I'm going to divide it into the short term, medium term, and long term. So, with respect to the short term, uh, we believe that that chicken and egg kind of story is mostly solved. It's either charging infrastructure has to come first, or charging infrastructure has to go hand in hand with respect to the number of electric vehicles on the road. So we believe, and this is what Magenta is also doing, we are setting up the EV charging infrastructure. We are taking up that investment on our own to set up that EV charging infrastructure pan India. This is the number one step. Adopting revenue sharing model or fixed plus revenue sharing land rental model. This is number two. With respect to utilization, to solve that challenge, we believe that at this point in time, tie-ups with fleet operators are very necessary. Number fourth point, high quality products which are suitable for Indian market and Indian environment. Uh, Indian environment is slightly different from developed nation, specifically because of the heat and humidity factors. And also the human factor is slightly different over here in terms of the way humans will interact with the machines. So because of which you need high quality product and also a compatible product with respect to Indian market. Now, it is also important to focus on the other revenue stream while your revenue from the main line of business is not as up to the benchmark. So you can focus on the advertisement at the charging station to generate that extra revenue. In terms of the medium term, while all the short-term measures will still be applicable, we believe that one could focus on the franchisee-owned and franchisee-operated models. Typically, the large charge point operators who have built the pan-India network, they will be in this position to set up this kind of business. And we also believe that residential market will start coming up at this point, at that point of time, after 3 years, 4 years. And at the same time, you will require low cost, innovative, good quality product, because every resident would kind of demand for that individual charging solution to have that comfort. In terms of the long term, we believe that absolute focus on launching of DC fast chargers at fuel station is required. Now, this is very important because after 6 or 7 years down the line, you will have that battery technology evolving, and you would be able to get 100-kilometer kind of charge in 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Typically, what petrol station or fuel station does at this point in time also. So at that time, you can focus on converting all those fuel station, majority of it into the EV charging station with high power charging stations. Another point that is important from a longer term perspective, you would have that kind of network availability in India, but interoperability is required because customer would want to go to a nearest charging station, and he would also prefer to go to a nearest charging station of the competitor as well. From that perspective, interoperability is very important. Now, moving to the last part that I wanted to cover with respect to the agenda of this webinar, what are the government support initiatives to ensure larger penetration of electric vehicles, e-mobility? While government has already taken certain initiatives, I would like to focus on key initiatives taken by the government. They have already launched EV tariff categories for multiple states. This is a state government initiative because electricity is a state subject. Second one is basically the subsidy that government is providing on EV chargers under the FAME scheme. Now, these are the two important initiatives, very important initiatives, I would say, but I believe that there are certain other initiatives that government can take along with this. First one is basically the land rental. Revenue sharing model can be followed by the state agencies and I am saying this for the initial 5 years. This is a support that will be required from a CPO angle so that they can lower their fixed cost, operation cost of the business model. Second one is basically the building bylaws. Now we all know that building bylaws ask for certain number of parkings to be ensured for the electric vehicles. They ask for certain number of percentage of chargers. We believe that there should be strict enforcement of the building bylaws. Third one and the last one, but not the least one for sure, to ensure that charging station can pick up and you have that infrastructure available as soon as possible. We believe municipal corporations are in the right position to provide that land banks along with the adequate electricity load on which multiple CPOs can install and operate for a longer period. When I say longer period, I'm always talking about more than 5 years kind of frame. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Rahul Gupta, for such an interesting talk on, especially you have highlighted all the, the challenges for electric vehicle charging infrastructure, then the business models. Thank you very much. Now we'll move to our next speaker, Mr. Karan Sani. So Mr. Karan Sani is currently working as part of the CEO office at Sun Mobility, a Bosch-backed battery swapping provider for commercial and shared mobility. And he leads key strategic projects and partnerships, including corporate strategy and fundraising. Previously, Mr. Karan has also worked with Bain & Company as a management consultant. Over to you, Mr. Karan. The floor is yours. Please.
Thank you, Parvez. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity and the rest of the team, including Ayantika, Hari, Sujoy sir as well. Right. So I basically want to keep it short, we've heard like really great anecdotes and insights into how the industry has evolved. I'll like to start off with 3 points that I want to make in the context of the EV charging landscape in India, and then move to a short background on how me or how my company Sun Mobility is trying to solve for those problems. So you should be able to see my screen now. Parvez, can you
Yes,
confirm?
it is.
Yes, yes.
Right. So I think, first of all, I think it's very important for us to understand what the context here is. I think it's not just to solve, EV charging or electricity delivery to like a small chunk or a niche part of the market. It's to make it so ubiquitous and available to everyone that, as Thomas Edison said back in 1879, that we should make it so cheap and available that only the rich should burn candles. So I think, again, we should always look at, what the broader point of arrival for us is going to be and how we're supposed to reach that, and that we should always keep that with us. So in light of that, I'd like to talk about 3 things, as I said. So first is about the different use cases. The second is about how the disruption in this sector will be led by incumbents along with innovators as well. And third is how do we bridge this gap going from where we are right now to making EV charging ubiquitous and available everywhere, wherever you might be in the city or in the country. Starting with the first one, what do we mean by use cases here? So it's very easy, when you just visualize how right now how the mobility landscape is placed. Like right now, if you have to buy a car, an active decision that everyone makes is that, should it be a diesel car, should it be a petrol car? And that's just personal use case. For commercial vehicles or for, higher long haul transportation, there is also multiple other options for fueling and for energy, including CNG, LPG, long haul fuel, jet diesel, and a lot of other fuel types, which are used because of the different kind of use that you're putting your vehicle to, and what this vehicle or your mobility is trying to solve for. So as previously we've heard in this webinar itself that there is a use case of employee transportation, and how that use case is different is because you are flying at particular hours, but within those hours you need a very high degree of reliability and safety and dependence on the transportation. Versus you'll have other use cases. For example, every day we've regularly used e-rickshaws, we've used autos, as part of our upbringing. They've been a part of the Indian mobility ecosystem, and how the use cases for a commercial vehicle which is running throughout the day might be different. So what's very, very important for us to understand is that there doesn't have to be one end answer to what charging will look like, or what EVs broadly will look like. And hence what it's pretty important for us to understand is sorry, I think I switched my slides by mistake. Yeah, going back. So what's very important for us to understand is that if you want to ideally move to a complete mass adoption of EVs, you want to adapt to each of these use cases in the manner that suits them the most. And then, in light of that, and once we've accepted that and acknowledged that, then it's very important for us to then look at the different kinds of charging, different kinds of swapping, or different kind of energies as a service that are available in the market. We at Sun Mobility are primarily catering to the battery swapping segment. However, you also, regularly see different models of slow charging, ultra fast charging, flash charging also coming into place. What's going to be very important for the industry and the broader the broader populace for also would be to understand what suits them the most, and then try to build on that and pick on the peaks that you identify in your particular kind of use case. So we at Sun Mobility are particularly trying to focus on commercial mobility and shared mobility, where a huge focus is on fleets like like Smarty in Gurgaon, which runs e-rickshaws, to like even your two-wheeler fleets. Like examples would be Bounce and Yulo, who are themselves trying to electrify their own fleets. So that's going to be a very important theme as we move over the next few years into truly making like a mass adoption of EVs possible. The second theme that I want to talk about here is, who will lead the disruption. So in any industry wherever disruption has happened or changes have happened, it's either led by an innovator or by incumbent. And we are very, as part of the broader startup culture and, the narrative that has taken over the startup ecosystem, is that we always end up relying on the innovators and the disruptors to actually create change. But in this particular market, because here the problem that we're trying to solve is not in a niche, but for the broader mobility ecosystem, what's going to be super important for us to understand is how can we leverage and, take on the incumbents in the space, incumbents in the energy market, in energy space, to lead this broader disruption that the innovators are trying to bring in. And I think this is pretty important because who are these biggest incumbents, right? This includes your gas station networks, right, from Indian Oil, HPCL, which have really like thousands of petrol pumps, like really high value volume sites within like the the most densest cities of India. This also includes your electricity distribution companies like Tata Power, BSES, and also includes private parking spaces. So all of these people already have real estate space. They already have economies of scale in the energy and in the electricity market. So what's very important for us to, for the innovators and everyone in this webinar or otherwise, is to consider how can we move on and bring and leverage these incumbents. One example of that would be how right now at Sun Mobility, we are trying to, we've already partnered with Indian Oil, we've partnered with Tata Power, and we're essentially leveraging their experience, their sites, and bringing the battery swapping ability and the battery swapping network to as close as you can get to a customer or a user. However, when you're going through this process, it's also important to understand that the characteristics and the risk profile of an incumbent and these bigger companies is very different. That they don't have the startup risk profile where they're ready to take on a risk. So what's very important to build these kinds of partnerships is to start slow, start from a pilot, start from a small commercial deployment where you're proving the fact that your technology should be bet on by these bigger companies, and then have a roadmap of how you move from a small pilot to a bigger full-fledged joint venture. So this is something that we personally also value very deeply within our company, and we try to build those partnerships in that roadmap with any of the big companies that we want to target. Thirdly, I'd like to speak about, so also my final point is, how do we move from where we are? And right now, whatever there are 60 people attending here. We talk a lot about EVs every day, but at the end of the day, we are less than even 2 to 3% of the mobility ecosystem right now. But whenever we make any decisions, even right now or in the next few years, the goal again doesn't have to be that niche of 10, 20, 30%. It needs to be that 100%, because that's the goal that everyone is aiming for. And that's the goal which is also important for us to, target, for us to achieve the kind of, benefits that we want to accrue. So here, it's very important for us to understand, for you to become truly ubiquitous, there have to be some things that you have to keep in mind. And I think convenience is very important. So if you want to ask everyone who's using a ICE or a diesel or fuel petrol-backed vehicle right now to move to electrics, you need to make it as close or as similar as how refueling was for them, right? So right now, if you own a motorcycle or a bike, it's not even a question, right? You can find a petrol pump anywhere around you. You don't even need to plan it. You don't even need to, budget it into your time. It's just whenever you need it, it's on a per demand or as per demand basis. And that's the kind of target that we need to have for electric vehicles charging as well. And then, in light of that, another theme that, or another characteristic of the Indian landscape that comes out is that 90 or maybe even more than that of the 90% or more than that of the urban population doesn't have access to proper parking spaces with power. So while a lot of home charging might make sense for some specific segments, but if you want to truly reach down to the grassroots of an urban city, then we'll have to really focus on public charging, public swapping, and other hub-based models where charging is being used not just at home, but is being used for people, wherever they are, at offices, at homes, while on the way to transit. And this is very different to the Western model right now. If you look at Tesla, if you look at the biggest EV companies in the world, they're all focusing on home charging. But it's going to be important for us to, over time, start understanding how, you make it mass truly, not just in terms of the affordability of the vehicle, but also in terms of the convenience and the availability of charging. And lastly, what I like to say is that, again, something which Rahul also touched upon earlier, that starting off for anyone in the EV charging or the EV infrastructure space, it's going to be a tough start, because when you're deploying a lot of assets, you're deploying a lot of money upfront in an infra first business. There needs to be a much higher risk appetite shown by our companies and by other such innovators. And what's going to be really important is that how do we test these upfront years of low utilization, which are really going to test business, and then scale that up to a point in the long term when it does become profitable and you do hit high utilizations. What we personally are doing to solve for that is that we have a very high degree of using data and using a lot of AI and ML tools to understand what are the right hubs, what is the right time that we should focus, and then use, say, peak pricing or use other ways through which you can ensure that even upfront you have a higher degree of utilization, because that ultimately impacts the profitability of companies in this space. So yeah, I think those are the three themes that I wanted to speak about, and a lot of this has already been touched upon by the previous speakers. So I'd like to thank them for that as well. And I'd like to just end by just showing what I mean by battery swapping and what Sun Mobility is doing. What you see here is a battery swapping station in the middle. It's as big as a ATMs or two ATMs clubbed together, and through the same station and through the same batteries, we're trying to serve multiple form factors, right from a small two-wheeler scooter to e-rickshaws and autos, and then we're even trying to enter the four-wheeler, like a small four-wheeler van segment. So this is another one of the innovative models that we can explore more. Having said that, as I said earlier, that it all needs to happen together, and different use cases will only be able to hit make us hit the broader target that we've set to do. Right, back to you, Parvez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Karan. That was really so insightful. Like in the previous webinar, when we were just discussing about the EV industry and the challenges and the funding challenges, Mr. Dev Mukherjee, who was one of our panelists, he had also mentioned about how much is your product being accepted in the market, like the market presence. And today you as well talked about prototyping and testing out your EV charging startup. So yeah, thank you for pointing out very insightful points such as hub-based models and how the Indian market is different than what it is there in the abroad countries such as USA and so on. Now, I would like to thank all of the panelists once more for sharing your knowledge, for giving and finding out time for the entire webinar and pointing out what were the challenges, how your businesses are solving those challenges, and what is the market scope, and so on and so forth. Now, taking note of time, like everything comes to an end, we will proceed towards ending this session on India's landscape for EV charging infrastructure. I hope everyone has taken notes and learned something from the session. I personally have learned a lot. If you have any questions, please write to us at info@massfoundation.org and we shall get back to you. Now, I request Parvez to take over from here and share the closing remarks. This is Ayantika, the communications lead of Mass Foundation, signing off. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ayantika. I would like to take this opportunity to thank a lot to all our panelists, Mr. Gaurav Trivedi, Mr. Shashank Narayan, Mr. Rahul Gupta, and Mr. Karan Sani for such an insightful talk and discussion on EV charging infrastructure from all the aspects, including state of affairs, the challenges, what government is doing, and the business models. So as you know, that charging infrastructure is a crucial part of the EV ecosystem to establish itself. And I thank all the attendees who took out time in these difficult situations to hear and participate in this interesting discussion. Mass Foundation will come up with the next webinar on battery storage next week. So stay connected, take care, keep safe. Thank you.
Right. Parvez, thank you for the closing remarks. Just before we end, I would like to take up few questions because I see a lot of questions have been asked. So probably we should not be skipping those, and we have 5 minutes in our hand. One of the questions which is asked is why electric solar pumps are not working as at its full capacity. It's a question asked by Dr. Yogesh. It's open to anybody and everybody from the panelists. Mr. Rahul, would you like to take the question? So you're on mute.
Yeah, Ayanti, can you please repeat that question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The question is why electric solar pumps are not working at its full capacity?
Why electrical solar pumps are not working at the full capacity?
I guess Rahul, you should not answer this because it is out.
it
What
is
was the topic?
slightly
Yeah?
out of the context.
Something
Yeah.
you're discussing about e-mobility.
Yes, not the right person to answer this.
Right. So we will now move on to the next
Correct.
question. Mr. Rahul, this is actually for you. How do you expand in a city like Delhi, where land is at a premium for charging infrastructure?
Yeah. So very good question. See, and as we see typically in all cities, on tier one cities, land is basically very costly, and that is why I pointed out that in terms of the business model framework, it is very essential to focus on the revenue sharing rather than only the fixed rental part. So one can put up the EV charging infrastructure, spreading out it as a network in the city like Delhi. It is important to go for the revenue sharing, or if that is not the option, fixed rental plus revenue sharing kind of thing. So land owning agency has to be part of this, not has to be part of this thing and has to take some ownership. This could be one of the way. And another way is basically, one could set up a hub and also target fleet operators, because with fleet operators utilization will come into the picture and land cost rental will not hurt that much.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Rahul. We will just take up one more question and end the session. Perhaps you can write to us on our email and we will answer back to you. The last question is, what should be the business model for charging infrastructure for electric 2 vehicle and electric 3 vehicle, as these are the largest markets in India?
Ayantika,
Right.
shall I answer this?
Yeah, sure. Mr. Shashank also wants to answer, I guess. So
Yeah, Avantika, can you repeat the question? So it is, what is the question? Can you
what
repeat
should
it,
be the
please?
business model for charging infrastructure for electric 2 vehicle and 3 vehicle, as these are the largest markets in India?
With the this automotive market, which is non-regularized and non-standard, so the issue is with the adequate charging infra or the charging equipment for these vehicles. So this is the one of the challenge. That's why we don't have the business model. Second, you don't require even like it is perception. You don't require any charging infra for two-wheeler because it, let's say of 2 or 3 kWh, correct? And you don't require any charger at outside because you can charge your two-wheeler at just mark your journey up to the limits of the. So for particularly pertaining to EV chargers, so there is no successful business model in case of two-wheeler and three-wheeler, but there is a very unique or successful business case which comes with the battery swapping model. So, but there are other roadblocks in battery swapping when with two-wheeler and three-wheeler has a regularized battery swapping ports or the inlets or the racks. So it is very specific to make it a universal ecosystem. It is very challenging. So one can have like when one energy operator can tie up with certain OEMs in order to provide the services or swapping services. So this could be the appropriate business model for two-wheeler and three-wheeler. Battery as a service, particular swapping service. So Sun Mobility could be the one who can guide you for that kind of right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shashank. Rahul sir, would you like to go, or Karan sir, would you like to take?
Yeah, so I would just like to add on this particular thing. See, we have to break this problem statement into two parts. One is two-wheelers are getting used in the personal or individual segment also. Their EV charging infrastructure will work very fine. Second is basically large adoption with respect to electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers are happening in the commercial space. There we are seeing the use cases with respect to the battery swapping models. Uh, and also the as a company we are also not averse to the battery swapping. The only issue with the battery swapping right now is the standardization, so that is one of the biggest issue. But having said that, also believe EV charging infra as a hub can also work very well for the commercial segment. You just have to figure out what kind of time operations and all those operation parameters, and it can work very well.
Right. Mr. Karun, you were wanting to add something. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I think enough has been said on it, but I just like to add the fact that this is a big problem to solve, and I think we should solve it because, as someone rightly said, that 80% or more than that of mobility in India is two and three wheelers. So it needs to be solved, and I think Rahul raised some good points about how hub models can be used for that as well. We are particularly seeing a lot of traction from the fleets on the two and three wheeler side for swapping, because one angle is that they'd ideally not want to stop for some time during the day, and lower the utilization and how much they can milk the vehicles. And secondly is that in swapping, you get to not buy the batteries upfront, which then gives you a lower capex upfront. So those are some of the themes that we were identifying from some of the fleets and why they are interested in the swapping ecosystem as well. So I think we should explore that further and see how that can be solved, including the standardization problem. We personally believe that over time, as the industry matures, that standardization, there's also an organic standardization which happens just like every other industry. So that's also an option that we could explore. But yes, I think this is a very important part of the puzzle, and we shouldn't just focus on cars. Just like even the photo here in the poster is a car, but 80% of India is two and three wheelers. So it's pretty important.
Right. Thank you so much, Karan sir. Thank you so much, Rahul sir, Shashank sir, and Gaurav sir. It was a pleasure having you all as our panelists for the webinar today. And you're right, it just should not, focus on cars, but unfortunately, graphics focus on cars only. So we need to create changes. Thank you so much once again, and we will see you all attendees and respective panelists in our next webinar. Signing off, take care, stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.